Hey all y'all, welcome back to the live stream. It's Knit Tea Live. Woo! Sunday Knit Tea Live. I got my coffee in my Contigo. Oh, I forgot to put lipstick on. I'm gonna put some lipstick on. Say hi in the chat. You can watch me put lipstick on. Whoops. I got a little bit of a rush start this morning. Just because I was trying to get things set up, because I am determined. I am absolutely determined to do pattern spotlight this week. So I was setting up stuff, like setting up backups, frankly. Hey Janet, how's it going? We're gonna try to do this in my monitor, so bear with me as I put lipstick on live on live stream. There we go. Okay, that works. There we go. Now my lips don't look dead. Hey Samantha. Hey Whitney. Hi, got my coffee too in my Contigo. Yes. Contigo. Love my Contigo. What I love most about my Contigo, this is not sponsored. But what I love about my Contigo, I have a toddler. I have a 3-year-old, and she loves to pick up my coffee cups and my water bottles and pretend to drink from them. And there is no accidentally spilling this because there's a button that you have to press every time you sip. And so, yeah, like a beauty guru. Thank you, Samantha. Yes. I do love makeup. I do. I consider makeup a craft. In fact, what even got me started down this road of YouTube creator stuff was I fell into the beauty YouTube like sinkhole. I did. I learned how to. I wish when I was a teenager YouTube existed just for for makeup tutorials. I at the age of finally learned how to do my makeup like better. Well. Blend. I can now blend my eyeshadow. It's amazing. Game changer. Total game changer. But boy, that is a space I would never want to be in. The YouTube beauty creator space. Too much a soap opera. Not that the Fiverr community can't be a soap opera sometimes, because it can. It absolutely can. So we're going to just wait here a couple more minutes to see anyone else show up. How are you this Sunday? I hope you're doing well. I hope you're having a lovely weekend. Here in California, we can't go outside, even though it's finally not. Like, last week was blazing hot. This week, our temperature has come back down to a reasonable low 90s. But we are in the midst of, like, unreal wildfires. I'm fortunate none of the wildfires are near us. That was last year when we had a wildfire right behind our house, pretty much. But yeah, the air quality is terrible. And we're in Southern California, so it's not as bad as Northern California and Oregon, but our air quality is terrible. And so we can't go outside very much. I think it's a little bit better today. It doesn't actually look like dusk right now, so that's good. Anyway, so I meant to write up a bullet point to kind of keep me on track for the video, but that didn't happen. So let me ask you guys, what are you interested in first? Do you first want to discuss English versus continental knitting, or do you first want to give me your opinion on a pattern that I am working up? If you've been following my live streams, it's the glove. I have a question for y'all in terms of what you think looks better. So let me know. Let me know in chat which one you want to start with. Do you want to start with pretty pattern fingerless glove to look at and tell me what your opinion is? Or do you want to start with discussing a little bit English versus continental knitting? Oh my gosh. I hope all of this is coming across okay, because pattern, Janet, pattern, yeah. Okay, we'll start with pattern. Again this week, I'm on YouTube. I have another computer over here to the side so I can monitor the YouTube live stream in YouTube Studio. And again this weekend, it's still not coming up on here. And I don't know why, but you guys aren't telling me anything is a problem, so we are forging ahead. Okay, so let me get my overhead. Still working on the lighting situation with the overhead, FYI, so bear with me. I know what's going on. That's not the one, that's not the one. Where are you? Looking for the correct, nope, nope. Ah, here we go, okay. All right, so here's my question. You have all seen, or most of you have probably seen, I'm guessing all of you have seen these lovely, lovely gloves that I did when I was working on the Addy Flip review. Still need to weave in my ends. I know, I'm terrible. I'm terrible. So, you're terrible, Muriel. Anybody watched Muriel's Wedding? I love that movie so much. Anyway, so I did these on a size 7 needle, and it definitely created a larger slip stitch pattern motif here, which I really kind of dig. But when I first designed these gloves, I did it on a size 6 needle. And let's see, you're not gonna be able to see them very well on this. This will be better. Hopefully. I'll bring it up into the light. I did it on a size 6. What do you think? What do you think looks better? The slip stitch pattern in the size 6 or the size 7? Hey Bear, you shut up just in time. I got the fingerless gloves out trying to decide, should I write the pattern up in a size 6 or size 7? Because I can write it up in both or either. Opinion. Do 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 do. Of course, well, it changes the gauge, but this is what the back part looks like. This is the long version, by the way, of the glove. This is the short version. This is the longer version of it, and I actually did the fingertips here. And so you get some of the slip stitch on the back portion of the wrist as well. Yay, Bear. I think size 6. Oh, interesting. Okay. Size 6. Anyone else have an opinion? Janet, 6, 7 does not look as finished. Yeah, I mean, to be fair, some of the reason this isn't going to look as finished is because, hello, still haven't woven in my tails, and I haven't washed this and blocked it. So, the size, but I kind of agree. I do feel like this in the size 6 looks a little more polished. Whitney, I like both, but 6 if I had to choose. Interesting. Okay, I'm so glad I asked. Samantha, the gray gives more mermaid vibes, while the green one gives me more fish scale vibes. Yeah, it's true. It's true. This does feel a little bit, and it's so funny because mermaids was kind of my inspiration to begin with. I think I always saw a trailer for Aquaman or something, and all of a sudden I was like, I want fish scales on my hands and feel like a mermaid. I always wanted to be a mermaid. If I could be any mythical creature, I would be a mermaid. Definitely. What mythical creature would you be if you could be any mythical creature? Let me know. And if you're watching this on the replay, play along and comment down below, because you can still be part of the conversation even if you're watching on the replay. Oh, by the way, do not forget, please give this video a thumbs up. All right. And if you haven't already, subscribe and hit the notification bell. And I do this out of habit because with my uploaded videos, I have little graphics that pop up. Anyway, so yeah, but it seems like so far the consensus is people prefer the size 6. Manticore. Oh, good one. Good one, Janet. That's a good one. Why Manticore? I mean, I know for me, I would choose mermaid just because I love being in the water. And I just think like that would be just so delightful. I just see, I mean, sharks, sure, but you know. A dragon, yes, yes, definitely. Fire-breathing dragon would be amazing. Samantha, unicorn. I do love unicorns. When I was a kid, no, it's in my daughter's room. I collected unicorns when I was a kid. I think it's so amazing unicorns have become a big thing. Because when I was a kid, I loved unicorns so much. I collected them and everything. I love my, this is the same glove. It's in a purple. It's hard to see. I gotta get this lighting figured out. I know what I need if I can find it. We moved into our house a year and a half ago, and I am still hunting for things. Phoenix, strong, good one. That's a good one, Whitney. I'm noticing a lot of fire. Strong. I can never choose just one. Yeah, it's true, right? It's like maybe if each year we could choose to be a new mythical creature. All right, so I think the consensus so far is the size 6. So I'm going to start Lisa Frank. Lisa Frank. I don't get the reference. I feel terrible. I don't get it. This is the one I want? Yeah. So I think the consensus so far is oh, you can see it almost even better here because I have it in real light. Imagine that, real light. See what that happens? We have real light. I know why the light is not as good on my desk as when I am shooting, and it really is just a function of the fact that I have my computer here in front of me, higher up, so I can see what's happening. There's reasons. I need to monitor what's happening. And so I have my computer up and it's blocking the light from getting like all the way on my desk. And I just need to put a ring light here on my overhead. And I think that will fix the problem. But anyway, just so you can see a little better here. There we go. That's the 6, 7. This is the glove in purple with the size 6. Let me put it right up there. You can really see it in detail. Oh, that's better. Even though I turned yellow. See, isn't that pretty? I love this pattern. This is definitely one of those patterns it's a rare pattern that I sit there and I'm like, ooh, I want to knit that again. This is one of them. This is a pattern that I'm always like, oh, I could totally knit that again. I would love to knit that again. Oh, by the way, if we were to do a knit along, do you have a preference in terms of little fingerless? Let me put this on so you, oh, wrong hand. Stickers had a lot of, oh, that's right. I remember now. I remember Lisa Frank now. So this is with the little, half fingers, which is a challenge. Doing fingers on a fingerless glove, or just fingers in general. That's what it looks like. I think definitely I'm going to write this up as the long version. I just think it's cooler looking. And this is the shorter version without, so that's what that looks like when you don't have the fingers. So let me know if you have a preference in terms of that, if you like the idea of just having it opening like this, more like wrist warmers, or if you like the fingers. I kind of like wrist warmers. I feel like my fingers are free. I always have kind of a problem with the bulkiness here in the fingers, and this was made with worsted weighted yarn. It was made with Wool of the Andes, actually. Knit Picks Wool of the Andes, which is like a favorite go-to yarn of mine. Yes, I am a Knit Picks affiliate. So yeah. Okay. So any more comments with the gloves? Let me know, or we're going to be moving things along. Oh, man. Coffee. All right. So it's interesting. I always feel like, what am I going to talk about in live stream? And let me actually switch my camera real quick since we're not looking at anything there. So I realized I never asked any of you guys how you knit. If you knit English or Continental, and I would love to know if you knit English or Continental. Bear, I like the look of fingers, but it's a pain in the backside for me. I don't like the business between the fingers either. Yeah, I agree with you, Bear. I kind of, it's a fun, scoot that way. It's kind of a fun challenge to do the fingers, but it is a pain in the tuchus for sure. And I should do a video on this. One of the really hard things about doing the fingers and even the thumb gusset is it's just such a small number of stitches. There's not any great way to knit a small number of stitches in the round. Although, interestingly, I did discover I kind of like doing it with a 24-inch circular needle using magic loop. I found that worked really well. I discovered that when I was doing the whole Add a Flip review. I think I had a Carrie from the Edit Bay insertion about that. But a lot of times what I actually do when I'm doing fingers is I use double knit. You can knit in the round on straight needles utilizing double knit. Now you have to go down at least 2 needle sizes in my experience. 3 sometimes is even better because double knit creates a looser stitch because of the way double knit works. But if you're at all familiar with double knit, you can knit small circumferences in the round on 2 straight needles using double knit, and it's kind of fun. So bulk, yeah, it's the bulk. I agree, Bear. Samantha, Continental. Whitney, English. All right. How about everyone? I'm gonna find out. I'm trying to get a sense of how people knit, whether English, Continental, or Portuguese. As you all know, well, I actually can knit all 3. I can knit English, although I'm predominantly a lever style knitter. But yeah, English, but I can knit Continental. I do utilize it sometimes. I learned to knit Continental because I wanted to knit stranded color work, and it was definitely easier doing that with a yarn in 2 hands. So I learned to knit Continental so that I could do that effectively. And I do know how to knit Portuguese, which is kind of a fun skill to have. And a little preview of next week's video. I shot it yesterday, and it will involve me doing some Portuguese knitting. So, oh, I'm so excited for this video. I hope in edit I love it as much as I enjoyed shooting it. I don't want to give anything about the video away. Just know that it involves a multi-tool, an unexpected multi-tool, and how I use it in various ways, including for Portuguese knitting. So excited for this video. English, so I have my yarn in my right hand to give my left index finger a break from crocheting. Yeah. It's interesting with that, isn't that fair? Because like, if somebody already knows how to crochet, I understand why they would be easily drawn to Continental because holding the yarn is so similar. But that tensioning that you're doing with your forefinger between crochet and Continental, that is a lot of stress, not just here, but all the way down the arm. People don't this motion, by the way, I'm not an ergonomics expert. This is just from what I understand, and I learned this because I work a lot in my other life outside the craft room. I work in entertainment, and I'm a producer, and I work with editors in the edit bay. And a major problem for editors is carpal tunnel syndrome. And the reason they have it's a major problem, is working with the mouse and doing this motion all the time. This motion, clicking on your mouse. This is not good for your wrist because it's the repetitive motion, but it's also the strain it puts on your wrist. And part of the reason I don't like Continental, specifically for purl, is because I feel like this motion feeds right into that carpal tunnel problem. So that's one of the reasons I don't love Continental knitting. A lot of it has to do with the purl. Bear, Janet really dislike Continental. Yeah. Continental purls are the worst. I'm sorry, they are. I also love doing Portuguese knitting. Yay, another Portuguese knitter. You're going to want to tune in. Tune in next week. I think you're going to be delighted. I actually like purling Continental. I am weird. Oh, do you, Sam, when you purl Continental, do you bring the yarn forward or do you use like a Norwegian purl? Because I don't mind doing the Norwegian or the lazy purl in Continental. And also when I knit Continental, I do use combo knitting. So I do all my purl stitches Eastern style, meaning I wrap the yarn clockwise instead of counterclockwise when I do Continental knitting. That's how I found that it worked best for me. I use my thumb while purling. Oh, interesting. I kind of experimented with that. Do you mean that you kind of hold the yarn down with your thumb so you can more easily scoop it, or do you kind of throw it with your thumb? That's my question, Sam. I'm so excited about this. Maybe there'll be something new. I always love learning something new. The reason I ask is because in one of my Facebook groups, which is often the inspiration for things to kind of chat about in Knit Tea Live. Sam, I bring the yarn forward with my thumb, I think. I know, right? It's so funny when somebody starts asking you how you actually knit or do something, because you're like, wait, I never think about it, I just do it. Yes. But I feel like I need to sit up a little bit more, this chair. So the reason I bring it up, in one of my Facebook groups, somebody brought up a picture of showing, holding their needle, much like I do, using the pencil grip, right? Like this. My famous pencil, like it's mine. I did not invent it, but the pencil grip, like I do. And they were asking if anybody else knitted that way. And it was really interesting. It was kind of exciting because I saw quite a few older, what I assume were older people who do knit that way. They were taught to knit that way. But invariably, whenever any conversation comes up about English knitting, somebody will always come in to be like, well, you should knit Continental. And I'm always like, why? Somebody's asking you about English knitting. Why the need to hop in and say, Continental's better, faster, you should knit Continental? I find this a very strange phenomenon in the knitting world, because I think that people should knit the way they enjoy knitting. And if somebody's not asking for necessarily advice on how to knit Continental, or whether they should try knitting Continental, or how they could knit English better or faster, I really am confused by that need for some, not all, hashtag not all, but for some Continental knitters to jump in. And I don't know if it's just because they're just super excited about the way they knit, and so they want to evangelize it, which I can kind of understand. I'm a bit that way with lever knitting. I'm so excited about lever knitting. I'm always like, oh, you should try it. Here are my videos. No, it's not just to shamelessly plug my YouTube channel. That's part of it. But it's not just that. I'm really excited about this way of knitting. I want everyone to be aware of it. Not to try to get you to knit lever style knitting the way I do necessarily, but just to kind of get the word out that there is this option for knitters, specifically English style knitters. I've talked about this a lot on my channel. I have a whole video discussing Continental versus English knitting smackdown, where I really explain why I prefer lever knitting specifically, but English knitting in general, to Continental knitting. And I just feel like there has been this pressure. I've been knitting for over 20 years now, and I feel like for the last 15 to 18 years that I've been a knitter, I have seen this pressure almost to have everyone knit Continental. And I'm just very curious how everyone else perceives, thinks about it, what that might be about. Miss Marple. Yes, Miss Marple. Samantha, people should knit however they feel comfortable for the project or portion of the project. Exactly. I totally agree, Samantha, I totally agree. I'm always like, look, knit the way that makes you happy. I always say, if you are getting good even tension, you are enjoying the process, and you are pain free, then you should knit how you want to knit. But like, even with the pencil grip, one person came on because I commented with my video, because that's what I do, because gotta promo the channel, gotta grow this channel so I can stop being, that's a whole other thing. Anyway, but I posted the video for anybody who might want to see it, and or I commented with the video about how to knit faster with lever knitting, and someone was like, oh, thank you. People always tell me that I knit wrong, and now I can show them this video. And I was like, yeah, no, you're not knitting wrong. There's no knitting wrong unless you're getting terrible tension, or you're in pain, or you don't like it. Then you're doing something wrong. But it's so personal too, how you like to knit. It's so individual and how your own body works and feels comfortable. Like, that's why I'm always a little bit, I cringe when I see knitters who are continental knitters, and I don't think I'm talking to anybody here, but I always cringe a little bit when I see people hop in and are like, continental knitting's the best. You should just knit continental. You know, I mean, don't get me wrong. If you are English style knitter and you want to learn continental, I totally encourage that. It's definitely a skill I'm glad to have. I think it really behooves knitters to know more than one way to knit, because there are situations like 1x1 ribbing. I'll be the first one to say continental knitting for 1x1 ribbing is superior, because with English knitting you are having to move that yarn back and forth like crazy. Janet, there is no wrong, just consistent. Exactly. But I'll see people who advise that if you start a project knitting continental, you need it, or English, you have to stick with that throughout the project. And I'm like, no, I don't have to do that. I'm the boss of my knitting. If I want to knit my top of my sock with 1x1 rib and use continental to do it, and then knit the rest of my sock English style, because that's my preferred method that makes me happy, I will do that. And I have the experience to understand how that will affect my gauge. Because I think that's usually why people recommend that you don't switch between different styles of knitting in the middle of a project, is because it can affect gauge, because everything affects gauge. The weather affects gauge. Like, if I was starting a project now and doing a swatch, and then I didn't actually cast on for that project until like winter, I might seriously consider doing a second swatch, at least knitting enough to just see if pre-washing and blocking affected the gauge, because it's so hot right now. I know that my gauge is not the same as when it's cooler outside. Like, I know this. Anyway, so yeah. So it seems like most everyone here, Samantha we know is a continental knitter, and it seems like everyone watching live right now is mostly English style, which is interesting because I feel like there's been such a push about continental. So, yeah. Anyway, I don't know if that conversation was interesting for everybody, but it was for me because I always like talking about it. Anybody have questions about this week's video? The chat is right here, so I try to do my hand motions to the side with my left hand. Anyway, anybody have questions about the 5 cast-ons every knitter needs to know? Let me know in the chat. Sam, I was first taught English. I struggled with it after practicing for a few weeks of the course, and then I tried Continental for the rest of the course, and it felt more comfortable for me. Yeah, that's just it. When I first learned how to knit, I was learning from a book, and at first I was kind of intrigued by what was described as continental, so I started trying it, and I just couldn't. It was just too much, and I switched to English, and I was much happier. Later on, I went back and I learned continental. But yeah, I mean, I think so much of it too, I mean, granted, some of it is what you first learned to knit, I think, in terms of what you're most comfortable with, but I totally get, like, I hear people say American and English the same. Yes. American and English style knitting pretty much the same, although American, I feel like that's starting to become a bit of a misnomer, because I think in the United States now, a lot of knitters are now, who are coming to the craft for the first time, are learning how to knit continental, because a lot of local yarn stores have their owners are knitting continental and kind of pushing that. In fact, my sister-in-law, when she was learning how to knit, she went to an LYS and she was knitting English, and the owner was like, "Oh, you should really learn continental. It's so much faster." And I was like, why do that to someone? Like, why? Like, I have real issues with that. I have real issues if somebody's learning how to knit and they're enjoying how they knit, and then to come in and tell them, like, oh, but, and this is, I think, something, I gotta get this off my chest. I get this off my chest all the time. Hey, Jillian. I think I'm a lever flicker knitter. Yes. I haven't seen you knit, so I can't say for sure, but here's how I define lever knitting. let me bring up my overhead real quick. I define lever knitting as holding your right needle still while you knit, and I use the pencil grip to do it, and then using, let me get this. Oh, let me move the yarn the other way. I prefer throw and pick. Have you tried flicking? Flicking is really interesting to me, that term, because to me, flicking is, I'll be honest, I don't fully understand the difference between flicking and throwing, but to me, lever knitting is about keeping your right hand still while you knit, while using the left needle to move stitches onto the left needle. Oops. Thusly. So I don't know if I'm considered a flicker, because I still feel like I'm throwing my yarn pretty much, but it's your right hand when you flick. It's not like so much of a loopy motion as it is kind of just moving your hand forward and slightly around to get the yarn to catch around the needle. So that to me is the flicking. But I know I've seen people who call themselves flickers, who knit overhand and they do the stabby thing with the right hand, where they are using the right hand to insert the needle. Oops, missed it. This is pretty much how I used to knit. I didn't tension my yarn this way, but anyway, quick demo. But let's see. What would it look like? I guess that's kind of flicking without doing lever knitting, I'm guessing. I don't know. Oh, I did. Which this works too. But my thing about it is, people always claim that continental knitting is faster than English knitting. And I guess if you're looking at how a lot of people today are learning how to knit English style, which is to do the whole taking the right needle and do the stab them, choke them, pull out the guts, throw them over the cliff thing, where really the right needle is doing all the work and they're not tensioning their yarn through their fingers. Yes, I guess continental is faster, but if you want to know the real truth, I think the way that English knitting is taught today to so many knitters, the way I just described, is wrong. I think most people are not being taught the correct, yes, I just said correct, the ideal, the ideal way to knit English style, which I think the ideal way to knit English style is to use your left needle to load stitches on and off of your right needle, so that your right hand is just flicking or wrapping the yarn, and the work is evenly divided. And when you knit that way, you knit just as quickly as people say they knit continental. And what's her name? Hazel Tinley? Something like that. She is a lever style knitter. She knits a traditional form that is from the Shetland Islands, using what's called a maken or a macken, which is a leather pouch with holes in it. And so the needle goes into that macken, right? And it's held there. And so the right hand is not actually holding the needle really. It's being more supported in that knitting belt. And she's actually been clocked as the fastest knitter in the world. Although, if you've watched any of my videos, you know that I think that knitting fast in terms of stitches per minute is overrated anyway. It's like the left needle acts as a shuttle. Exactly, Jillian. That's how I knit as well, where I use the left needle like a shuttle. In fact, when I was learning how to knit lever knitting, I was learning from the internet, and at the time, this was so many years ago, there was almost no information on it. There were almost no videos on it. I found one video that showed how to tension the yarn and kind of the idea of it, and then there was one video of the yarn harlot at a fiber convention, just at her booth, and somebody recording just a crummy video on their phone. It might have been a flip phone. And she said that about the left needle acting like a shuttle, and that was the light bulb moment for me to understand that I needed to use my left needle differently. And when I learned that, game changer. Absolute game changer. Stacy at Dry Pick Flakes. I flick off the yarn top knuckle of my right index finger. Minimal movement for me. Yeah, and that's actually, I have a video in my head. I'm testing something out right now. But in the next couple of weeks, I'm probably going to shoot a video talking about some adjustments I'm making to how I'm using my right hand so that I have less movement. Because I think I fell into some bad habits. But yeah. It's so fun though. I love talking about the way people knit. I like hearing different ways that people approach it. Like, that's the thing with knitting, right? Oh man, my ankle. There's as many ways to knit as there are knitters. I mean, yes, there are these broad categories of Portuguese, Continental, English, but there's still such interesting distinctions. Like, it's really interesting watching Continental knitters, and I'll be the first one to say, watching Continental knitting, I sit there and I'm like, it's so pretty. Because it is a very fluid motion that goes on with Continental knitting, whereas English knitting I feel like is a more stepped process. But I'll see Continental knitters and I'm like, you're really throwing with your left hand. You're not picking it so much. It does look like you're throwing. Jillian, I'm so fascinated by this topic too. I know. It's kind of funny how much time I can spend talking about the nuances of how people knit, but that's what happens when you have a passion. I still feel like I have, is that better? Oh, I don't know. Anyway, it's so interesting when you have a passion for something, because you're just like, oh, tell me more. Let me see more. I'm just like, and other people are so, who aren't into this stuff, are just sit there and look at me like, there's really that much to discuss about how you're throwing your yarn? Like, yes. Part of the reason I started the YouTube channel was like, I need to find my people who I can talk to about this. Because interestingly, Los Angeles is a knitter's town. There's a lot of people who knit in LA. There's a lot of LYS stores, or at least there has. Who knows what's going to be like after this pandemic is a bad, distant memory. But this is always... And anyway, this is a knitter's town. Let's just leave it at that. And yet, interestingly, I never seem to find them and make friends with them. So I'm like, I'm going to make YouTube videos and talk about knitting, and there will be people who will want to watch this and talk about knitting with me. Because, yes, I find flicking too hard on my hands. I can knit Continental but don't enjoy it. Leonard as a thrower, and I am still fastest throwing. I learned as a throw, and I'm still fastest throwing. Yeah, I enjoy the lives with you all. I don't have anyone nerdy in my area that I can chat about knitting and yarn stuff. Exactly, Pear. I don't have any. Even like there's some knitters that I know are like, Carrie, we just want to do it. We don't need to talk about it like this. It's all very interesting. My family is so funny. Sometimes the videos will come up and they'll be like, oh, it's so great you're doing this. I have no idea what you're talking about, but it's so great that you're doing this. Sam, I enjoy the way Roxanne Richardson dives into techniques and the history reasoning behind them. Ooh, I'll have to look into that. Because that is one thing I'm not as familiar with. Like, I'm very familiar with, obviously, techniques, and I'm nerdy that I research and I think about what is going on structurally with the techniques and the way my brain works, which, I mean, all brains are a pattern-seeking brain, but my brain in particular is constantly being like, oh, I get it. This is like this. This is how these things are related. But I'm not as good as really understanding the whole history of everything. I haven't delved as much into that. So... Roxanne Richardson. I would write that down, except I don't have pen and paper near me. Okay, so we have about 20 minutes left. Who wants to see? Who wants to see if we can manage to do pattern spotlight? I think, okay. So I'm going to try to do the desktop share again, because I just do not want to give up, although I suspect I know what's going on and why it hasn't been working, but we're going to try it again. But if it doesn't work, I have a backup. I have a backup in order to show you guys some of this stuff, because there are so many pretty patterns out there and it can be a little overwhelming. And also, I just want to highlight the fiber happenings. Janet, go for it. Thanks. And let's see if we can get this work. So first we're going to try the desktop share. Okay, I am seeing it on my screen. Let's see when I transition. All right, so audio clearly didn't work. Got it early this time. I think, is my audio working now? You should be able to hear me now. I turned the audio on. I had it off for some reason, but I kind of suspect that there's a conflict happening between the audio and the video. So what we're going to do instead is I took screen grabs. I recorded my screen going through everything. So we're going to just go with the videos on this and make it work that way. So let me get this set up. Wait, nope, that's not the one I want. I just have to get down. Okay, here we go. All right, so we're going to, no, that one, that one. Are the videos there? Yes, we can hear you now. We can hear you now. Yes, good. Oh no, why is that video not, okay. Close that. What's going on? Sorry, I'm not switching over yet. I don't understand. Let's see. All right, we're gonna just try switching it over and we'll see if this works. real quick. All right, so you could see the video, but you couldn't hear me. Sorry, I'm considering something in my head. I think I know why. I screwed up. And let me try something real quick. I'm going to try it this way. Let's see if this will work. I really appreciate the way that you guys have all... Okay, can you hear me? This is the composite. This is the desktop share. Correct. All right, so now I'm in the composite with the desktop share again. Can you hear me while I'm doing this? Because the mic is on and everything. So let me try. This is actually the one I wanted to try. Okay, so we're going to try this video again. And we're going to see if you can hear me now. We can hear you. Yes. Yes, it's working. Yay. Okay. All right. I think I know what's going on here. I think. So I'm in the video and we're going to look at Romy Hill. Thank you, everybody, bearing with me as we figure out these technical problems, issues. I swear I test this stuff and then we get live and stuff happens. So this is Romy Hill's beautiful lace design for the Empower People project. And I personally feel like I'm not going to touch anything because it's working. I'm not touching anything, it's working. I think this would be a really good, if you're new to lace knitting, this would actually be a good pattern to start with because it's not terribly complicated. It doesn't look like from the photo. I could read at the pattern and tell you for sure because this is a free pattern. But it's an eyelet pattern, and I feel like this type of pattern is a good introduction to lace knitting because you're doing your yarn overs, you're doing your decreases. Probably need to follow at least a chart and written directions, but I'm guessing that the eyelets and the pattern, like the eyelet happens and the decrease happens thereafter, whereas some lace patterns, the stitch count is going to change for sections of the repeat, and when you're first learning how to do lace knitting, that's a lot to keep track of. So I feel like this is a really good kind of new to you lace knitting project. But it's lovely, and it's a way to support the Empower People project, and that's very important. And I'm going to do my weekly plug to remind you to make sure that you are registered to vote and to have a plan to vote. If you don't know what I'm talking about, check out vote.org and come up with your plan to vote. Voting matters. Voting matters. All right, so next, that's Romy Hill's design. This next one is gorgeous. I'm so excited to show it to you guys. I'm going to try doing it. I'm going to try turning off the chat box because it's just kind of in the way. All right, so this is from Lauren Rad. She lives in Ventura, California. So hey, California girl. And if no other reason, follow her on Instagram because she does the most beautiful photos. Her aesthetic is just so gorgeous. It's very English tea, but it's gorgeous, and this pattern is just a wonder of texture. And it doesn't look too complicated. The hardest thing in this pattern is going to be the bobbles. Bobbles are not hard to do, but they are, you know, it takes a minute. But this is just a beautiful combination, this cowl, I think, of eyelets and seed stitch and these panels of bobbles. What did she call this? She calls this, this one? She calls this her rhubarb crumble cowl. And it's on Etsy. She also sells, I believe she sells on PayHip. She definitely sells on Etsy. There's obviously links to this on my webpage. She is on the Fiber Indie list. Really love her work. Love her pictures. If you're not following her on Instagram, follow her on Instagram. Find her on Instagram, follow her on Instagram. Actually, the Fiber Indie list, I linked to this pattern. I think it was a Twitter embed, actually. But you can also follow her on Twitter. But yeah, love her work. And I mean, I could just stare at this photo all day. It's so pretty. Her photos are phenomenal. Her patterns are really good too. All right. Next up, we have Louise Tilbrook, who's releasing a new pattern this week. It's a sock pattern. It's called the Socially Distant Sock. Louise Tilbrook has been really great. She's been a really great voice for accessibility through this whole New Rav debacle. And she has her PayHip. She has her PayHip store up. She has a group, a knitting group on Mighty Networks. I should have looked up what the name of it is, but she's a delight. We're mutual follows on Twitter, and she's just delightful. Always has such interesting things to say. I love this sock. I'm not personally a huge fan normally of variegated yarns. For whatever reason, I tend to like solids. But this slip stitch pattern sock that she has really, I think, makes excellent use. It's going to scroll back up in a second to the photos. Makes excellent use of variegated yarns. As she said, the slip stitch pattern and the texture actually helps make the colors in the variegated yarn pop. I'm not exactly sure of what that heel is. If the heel is I think the heel is a short row heel. So, all right, next up we have a Tunisian crochet pattern. This is from Aklori Design. She specializes in Tunisian crochet. If you've never tried Tunisian crochet, I highly recommend it. It is super fun crochet technique. The way Tunisian crochet is sometimes described is as a combination of knitting and crochet, but this pattern, I feel like if you don't know Tunisian crochet, this shawl pattern would inspire you to learn it because it just is the geometric quality that she has done here is just so cool. I just think it's so cool. But yeah, I love Tunisian crochet. I think Tunisian crochet is like, it's fun. I haven't done enough of it. But yeah. What do you guys think? Anything that you're seeing that's really getting you excited? Inspiring you? All right, we don't have a ton of time left. So moving on, we now have a new hat pattern from Hunter. Oh, please don't mind the ginormous affiliate blurb there. I didn't want it to be that big, but it's just how it worked out. Anyway, right here we have a new hat from Hunter Hammersman. The sock is very cute. Yeah, the sock is cute. I think the sock is super cute. And honestly, it's one of those patterns that I feel like is not a hard pattern to do, but people will be awed by it because it looks more complicated than what it is. But this is a new hat by Hunter. This is a leaf motif, and I feel like there's something in the air because I'm seeing so many patterns right now that involve twisted stitches, and this pattern, the leaves, there's obviously the eyelets at the base of the leaf, but the stitch movement, those are twisted stitches that are going on. Something I really like about oh, and look at the crown. The crown of that hat is gorgeous. Gorgeous. I actually want to make this hat into a tam. I love tams. I love wearing tams. I love knitting tams. I'm a tams kind of girl. But yeah, and she has a matching fingerless glove. Oh, look at that timing. She has a matching fingerless glove that goes with this hat. So I think this is a really cute pattern. I think this pattern really gets you in the mood for fall. In Los Angeles, I wrote this on the Fiber Happenings list. In Los Angeles, the leaves do change colors. Then they immediately fall off the tree. It's like they go from green to their real color of red or orange or whatever, and then immediately fall off the trees. And I feel like with this hat, I could always have a little bit of fall leaves in my life with this hat. Wow, love that hat. It looks difficult for me, but I would be willing to try it. You know what? I don't know the pattern. I haven't read it, but I'm suspecting it's not as complicated as you think it might be. I think that it is a simple knit purl combination with twisted stitches that are forming the edge of the leaf, and then a simple just eyelet at the base. Um, that's the thing with like twisted stitches sometimes and knit purl combinations is it can create a sense of movement that's not necessarily as difficult as you think it is. What did Hunter say about her hat? One thing I like about Hunter's patterns that she does is she tells you some of the techniques that will be involved with the pattern. And she said about this, I'm getting to it right now. Love that hat. I definitely want to knit it up. Well, there's a link to her PayHip store for this pattern on the Fiber Indie list, on Fiber Happenings, on the TFIL main page. What did she say? She says this hat is perfect for you if you share my helpless fondness for knitted leaves. You are powerless to resist a tidy hat crown. It's not for you if you don't like charts. The pattern uses charts. That makes sense for this type of pattern. You hate swatching. You need to swatch to check your needle size. But yeah, let's see. And Hunter always gives suggestions on how you can adjust gauge and fit to make the pattern work for you, which I think is so, so helpful. Bear, going to have to buy it now. The gloves are awesome too. They are. The gloves are phenomenal. I think the gloves are phenomenal. I love fingerless gloves. It's one of my favorite projects. All right, so next this was a pattern I wanted to show you guys last week. It's a new one, but we had technical problems. But it's another fingerless glove, and this is a mock cable. So this is one of those that it looks more complicated than it really is, and it's just, I love the movement of the stitches. Oh, thanks for joining us, Janet. I hope you have a wonderful rest of your week. I hope you have a wonderful rest of your week. Thank you so much for showing up. It was great having you. It was so exciting hearing how you do Continental. Here's a good close-up of that mock cable. Again, this is a twisted stitch. So that movement is being done with the twisted stitch. She sells her patterns through her own website, I believe, but she's also on Lovecraft. So, yeah, gorgeous. I love this glove. This is the one I think I might buy. I'm like, I don't always knit other people's patterns, but I love that. I love this so much. Oh my God. I'm in love with that. I've been in love with this now for 2 weeks, ever since she actually submitted this pattern to go on the Fiber Indie list, and ever since I saw the photo, I was like, I love this. Okay, so we got one more. We're going to run a little bit long. What else is new? We got one more that I want to highlight from last week, and this is actually not a new pattern. This is a knit along with Sarah Dawn's designs, but Sarah Dawn she's somebody I follow on Twitter, and she does Twitch live streaming, which I watched her Twitch live stream, and it's really fun to watch her knit. There's something about the way she knits that I'm just mesmerized by. But this is a cable pattern, and it is on sale right now for Etsy because this is a month-long knit along she's doing. Jillian, I have to finish my sweater, but you are tempting me to cast on a new project. Yes! I'm going to suck you into something new. You can never have too many projects on your needle. Never. Trust me. Oh, excuse me. Burp. Hello. I always have more than one project going. I'm the worst. I'm the worst. I'm such a pusher. I'm a pattern pusher. I'm like, here's something pretty to look at. Here's something pretty to make. But yeah, this is from Sarah Dawn. It's a cable cowl. Whoops, something dropped. And I think this is lovely. I think everything is lovely. I enjoy these kind of cables where the stitches are just kind of moving across the work. Not everything always has to be, do I have anything? No. I don't knit a ton of cables, if truth be told. Seer enabler. I I'm more than an enabler. I'm a pusher. I'm a pattern pusher. I want everybody. Well, and also though, truth be told, oh, that's right, I'm out of studio mode. Truth be told, I want to highlight all these designers because A, they have amazing work and it's beautiful, but B, all the designers on the Fiverr Indie list have accessible means to buy their patterns. They either have a PayHip, or they're on Etsy, or they're on Lovecrafts, but you are not tied to Ravelry with these designers, and I really want to promote and encourage them because New Rav is, and Ravelry is still being, yeah, that's still a whole mess. So I want to promote these designers with just what little platform I have. I want to help encourage them. And I really encourage people to buy patterns outside of Ravelry because I know from just chatter that I see on Twitter in public that it is a lot of work for the designers to set up these alternative e-commerce platforms for themselves, no matter which one they choose, Etsy, Lovecrafts, PayHip, whatever it is. It's a lot of work for them to set up these alternative ways for us makers to purchase their work if we can't or are choosing not to use Ravelry. And I want to give them some return on their investment of time. And really, yeah, accessibility matters. That's right, Jillian. Accessibility matters. So I don't have the biggest platform, but it is growing. And yeah, I just want to be able to help promote what these guys are doing because it's not easy. It's not easy to, I'm getting sweatier and sweatier. Have you noticed that? Have you noticed that I'm getting sweatier and sweatier? But yeah, anyway, I'm babbling at this point. So I hope, and if nothing else, you get to see some pretty stuff because it's fun to look at the pretty things made out of pretty string. Like, we all enjoy it. And yeah, there's more than one way to look at pretty stuff. In fact, I sometimes, you tell me what you think, I sometimes like having a more curated selection of patterns to look at. Like, I sometimes feel like when I did go on Ravelry to search for a pattern, sometimes I felt overwhelmed by the selection that was involved, and I actually sometimes prefer having a more curated selection to look at because sometimes too many options is just too much. I think sometimes we put too much value in having access to everything. I mean, there's value in it. There is value in it, but sometimes I think we overvalue that, and we mistake having access to everything as accessibility to everything. Being able to look at all the things doesn't make it more accessible, I guess, if that makes sense, in my opinion. I don't know. This is something I'm just sorting out in my head right now. This is an incomplete thought. It's a little bit of stream of consciousness. Thank you for writing that with me. Decision fatigue is real. Exactly, Jillian. That's so interesting. That's how I was thinking. I was thinking of that term of decision fatigue earlier this week when I was thinking about editing my video, not this video I released on Friday, but the one from last week. I was suffering from decision fatigue when I initially edited that video, and decision fatigue is real, and sometimes having a limited number of choices is beneficial. It makes you focus. And also, sometimes having a limited number of choices gets you to try something that you wouldn't necessarily have tried otherwise because there was something else there, and you can be surprised. I think when all the things are available to you and you can just pick the things that you're interested in, there's no surprise in that. You don't necessarily learn anything new from that. Sometimes if you are in a position to just see something that maybe wouldn't have been your first choice, you might discover something in that. So anyway, that's my little rant for this week. And we did it! We had a successful pattern spotlight. Yeah. Woo! Woo! Imagine the confetti coming down. Imagine the confetti, glitter and confetti raining down in my imagination as we like celebrate pattern spotlight. It's finally happening. All right. So that, I believe, is it for this week. Next week's video, if you weren't here to hear me talk about it, I'm not giving it all away. I'm just going to say there will be a demonstration of Portuguese knitting in it, along with some other things, and an unexpected, well, anyway, I'm selling it right now. An unexpected multi-tool. I'm so excited for this video. I had so much fun shooting it yesterday. I cannot wait for you all to see it next Friday. It will go up next Friday. Wednesday is my weekly blog post. And I'm not, originally my blog post, I was going to put up a table, a kind of breakdown of what to know about the 5 cast-ons every knitter needs to know, and I might still put that up, but I'm not exactly sure yet what my blog post will be about on Wednesday, but Wednesday there will be a new blog post, so put that on your calendar. We'll keep an eye out on my social media, because you know I will announce it when it goes up. If you have not already, please give this video a thumbs up, hit subscribe, hit the notification bell. Imagine 2 little graphics here that I am pointing at when I say that. If you are watching on the replay, please jump into the conversation in the comments down below. Let me know, what magical creature would you be if you could be any magical creature? What size of the pattern did you like better, the size 6 or the size 7? What other questions did we throw out there during all of this? Oh, and of course, how do you knit? Are you an English knitter? Are you a continental knitter? Are you a Portuguese knitter? I'm fascinated by Portuguese knitting. So, yay, bears. Lots of plugs. And so, did I get all my plugs in? Also, of course, the Fiber Indie List updates every Monday and Friday, so keep your eye out for that as well. Friday is generally when the new patterns go up. That tends to be the rhythm of things, but you never know. Monday could have it. Monday tends to be the updates on sales that are happening around the internet and things of that nature. So, but yes, Mondays and Fridays, the Fiber Happenings update. There are a couple of new designers. I have 1 new designer to put onto the Fiber Indie List. And also, update, Fiber Indie List, real quick. Hunter Hammersman, her website is now linked on the Fiber Indie List. She now has, for her pattern sales, she has links for both Ravelry and PayHip on her website now, so a link to her website is now on her listing on the Fiber Indie List. So let's show let's show Hunter some love for getting that done. It was a huge task, because Hunter, she has over 100 patterns. So if you know of Hunter, if you see her on social media, give her a little shout out for getting her website links set up so that anybody who goes to her website has an accessible means of buying her patterns. It was not an easy task. So, super excited for the glove pattern you're working on too. Thanks, Bear! Because if I can get together in time, we might have a knit along next month. Anyway. Alright, so I think that's it for today. Thank you everyone for joining in. It was a lot of fun, as always. And I hope you have a wonderful rest of your weekend. I hope you have a great week ahead. And as always, wait, I gotta set something up before I do it. Ending soon. That was too soon. I forgot I'm not in studio mode. Okay, let me do this again. There we go. Okay, so as always, happy health and happy knitting. Bye.